You're in the middle of an argument and you're right. You know you're right. The evidence is on your side, the logic is clear, but halfway through making your point, your throat tightens, your eyes start to burn, and before you can stop it, you're crying. Not sad crying, not hurt crying, just crying. And now the person across from you thinks you're falling apart, when really, you were just trying to explain something that mattered. They soften their voice. They ask if you're okay. And you want to scream, because this isn't about being okay. This is about being heard. But now the conversation is over, because your body made a decision your mind didn't approve. You've probably been told you're too sensitive, that you take things too personally, that you need thicker skin, and maybe you've started to believe it. Maybe you've apologized for crying when you didn't even feel sad. Maybe you've learned to avoid conflict altogether because you can't trust your own system not to betray you. But what if the problem isn't that you feel too much? What if the problem is that you feel accurately, and the world wasn't built for that? There's a moment that happens right before the tears start. It's not emotional, it's physical. Your chest gets tight, your breathing shifts, your face gets hot. It feels like pressure building behind a dam. And you're not crying because you're weak. You're crying because your nervous system is trying to discharge something it can't hold anymore. The frustration isn't the feeling. The crying is the release. And that's not the same thing as breaking down. That's your body doing exactly what it's designed to do when the intensity exceeds the container. But here's what makes it confusing. You don't cry when you're sad. Or at least, not always. You cry when you're angry, when you're misunderstood, when you're trying to explain something important and the other person isn't listening, when you're defending yourself and it's not landing, when you care deeply about something and no one else seems to. The tears don't match the script. And because they don't match, you've learned to mistrust them. You've learned to think something's wrong with you. Let me tell you what's actually happening. Your autonomic nervous system has two jobs. One is to keep you alive. The other is to keep you regulated. When you're frustrated, especially in a relational context, your system is doing both at once. It's detecting a threat, not a physical one, a social one. You're being misread, dismissed, invalidated, and your body treats it the same way it treats danger. It floods you with adrenaline. It tightens your muscles. It prepares you to fight or flee. But you're not in a jungle. You're in a conversation, so you can't fight, you can't flee. You have to stay present, stay civil, keep talking. And all that energy has nowhere to go, so it converts. Adrenaline becomes tears. Cortisol becomes trembling. The sympathetic charge that was supposed to power a physical response gets rerouted into your lacrimal system. And that's why you cry. Not because you're sad, but because you're overfull. Your system is trying to return to baseline, and crying is the fastest way to do it. It's a biological pressure valve, and the fact that it activates during frustration instead of fear tells you something important. It tells you that you care, that the interaction matters, that you're still trying. Now, there's a concept in psychology called vantage sensitivity. It's the idea that some people are wired to respond more intensely to their environment. Not just to stress, but to everything. To beauty, to injustice, to subtlety, to meaning. These are the people who notice what others miss, who feel the emotional temperature of a room before anyone speaks, who can't unsee a problem once they've seen it. And for a long time, we called this sensitivity a weakness. We pathologized it. We told people to toughen up. But researchers started to realize something. In the right environment, these people don't just survive. They thrive. They're the ones who innovate, who connect, who lead. Not because they feel less, but because they feel more, and they've learned how to work with it. If you cry when you're frustrated, you're probably one of these people. And that means your system isn't broken. It's calibrated. It's picking up on emotional data that others don't register. And when that data conflicts with what's being said, or when you're being treated in a way that doesn't match your reality, your body sounds the alarm. The tears aren't the problem. The tears are the signal. They're telling you that something matters, that you're not indifferent, that you haven't given up. But here's the part no one tells you. The world doesn't know what to do with that signal, because we've built a culture that treats emotional expression as weakness and emotional restraint as strength. We've decided that the person who stays calm wins, that the person who cries first loses. And so you've learned to suppress it, to apologize for it, to leave the room before it happens. And every time you do that, you teach your system that its signals are wrong, that you can't be trusted, that you have to perform composure even when you're at capacity. Let me give you a framework. Think of your emotional system like a river. Some people have wide, shallow rivers. The water moves slowly. It takes a lot to make it overflow. Those people can handle a lot of input without much visible reaction. They're not better. They're just different. You have a narrow, deep river. The water moves fast. It's powerful. It's responsive. And when too much comes in at once, it doesn't spread out. It rises. And when it rises past a certain point, it spills over. That's the crying. That's the overflow. And it's not a design flaw, it's a design feature, because that same depth is what allows you to feel joy intensely, to connect deeply, to care when others have checked out. The problem is, you've been trying to widen your river, to be more like the people who don't cry, to build walls and dams and hold it all in. And that doesn't work. Because you can't change the shape of the river. You can only learn to work with it. And that starts with understanding that the overflow isn't the enemy. The overflow is information. It's telling you that you've hit your threshold, that you need space, that the interaction needs to shift. And instead of apologizing for it, you can start to use it. Here's where traditional advice fails. People will tell you to breathe, to count to 10, to calm down. And sometimes that helps. But often, it doesn't. Because the tears aren't happening because you're out of control. They're happening because you're still in control. And the only way to stay in control is to discharge the excess. So when someone tells you to calm down, what they're really saying is, stop having a reaction I don't know how to handle. And that's not your job. Your job is to have the reaction, to let it move through, to trust that your body knows what it's doing. So here's what you do instead. First, stop treating the tears as a failure. They're not. They're a function. And the more you resist them, the more power they have over you. So when you feel them coming, don't fight. Don't apologize. Just acknowledge it. You can say it out loud if you need to. You can say, I'm not sad, I'm just processing. Or, I cry when I care about something, and I care about this. Or you can say nothing at all. You can let the tears happen and keep talking. Because the tears don't mean you've lost the thread. They just mean you're at capacity. And the person you're talking to can handle that, or they can't. But that's not your responsibility. Second, learn to recognize the pre-cry signals. The tightness in your chest, the heat in your face, the shift in your breathing. These are early warnings. And when you catch them early, you have options. You can pause the conversation. You can step outside. You can ask for a minute, not because you're falling apart, but because you're managing your system. You're giving the river a chance to lower before it spills. And that's not avoidance. That's self-regulation. There's a difference. Third, start narrating your internal experience to the people who matter. Not during the argument, not when you're already overwhelmed, but later, in a calm moment. You can say, when I cry during a disagreement, it's not because I'm hurt. It's because I'm frustrated and my body needs to release the intensity. It doesn't mean I can't handle the conversation. It just means I'm having a strong reaction and I need you to keep going. Don't soften. Don't stop. Just let me finish. This kind of pre-framing changes everything because it gives the other person a map. It tells them how to stay with you instead of retreating or patronizing you. Fourth, build a post-cry protocol. Because here's the thing, after you cry, your system is flooded with relief hormones. You feel lighter, clearer, calmer. And that's the moment when you can actually think. So instead of collapsing into shame, use that clarity. Go back to the point you were trying to make. Finish the thought. Reclaim the conversation. Because the tears didn't erase your logic, they just cleared space for it. Now, here's the hidden barrier. The first few times you try this, it's going to feel awful. Because you've spent years believing that crying means losing. And when you stop hiding it, you're going to feel exposed, vulnerable, like you've given someone a weapon. And some people will use it that way. Some people will dismiss you, or mock you, or tell you you're overreacting. And when that happens, you'll want to go back to suppressing. You'll want to prove you can be calm. But that's the test. That's the moment when you have to choose between performing for someone else's comfort or honoring your own reality. And the people who can't handle your tears are showing you something important. They're showing you that they need you small. And you don't have to be small for anyone. Here's what I want you to understand. Crying when you're frustrated doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you're still engaged. You haven't numbed out. You haven't disconnected. You're still in the arena, still trying, still caring. And that's not a weakness. That's a form of courage. Because it would be easier to shut down, to walk away, to stop trying to be understood. But you don't. You keep showing up. You keep trying to bridge the gap. And your body is working overtime to help you do that. The tears are part of the process. They're not the end of it. There's a reason this happens more in certain contexts than others. You don't cry when you're frustrated at a broken printer. You cry when you're frustrated with a person. When you're trying to connect and the connection is failing. When you're trying to be seen and you're being misread. Because the tears aren't about the content, they're about the relational rupture, and your system knows the difference. It knows that a thing can be replaced, but a relationship can't, so it escalates. It signals, it tries to close the gap. And the crying is your body's last-ditch effort to say, this matters, please don't miss me. So here's the reframe: you're not too sensitive. You're appropriately sensitive. You're picking up on emotional nuance that others are missing. And when that nuance is ignored, your system responds. Not because it's faulty, but because it's awake. And the world needs people who are awake, who notice when something's off, who refuse to pretend everything's fine when it's not, who cry not because they're broken, but because they're still hoping, still believing the other person will understand if they just try hard enough. And maybe they will, or maybe they won't. But either way, you'll know you tried. You'll know you didn't shut down. You'll know you brought your full self to the moment, even when it was uncomfortable. And that's the kind of integrity that builds a life worth living. Not a life free of tears, but a life where the tears mean something, where they're honored, not hidden, where they're part of the story, not a reason to exit it. So the next time you feel them coming, don't run. Don't apologize. Don't collapse into shame. Just let them come. Let them move through. Let them do what they're designed to do. And then keep going. Keep making your point. Keep asking for what you need. Keep showing up as the person who feels deeply, loves hard, and refuses to perform indifference just to make others comfortable. Because that person is not a problem to be solved. That person is a gift. And the crying is just proof that the gift is still intact. Here's what you can say to yourself when it happens. I'm not falling apart. I'm discharging. My body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I can cry and still be right. I can cry and still be strong. I can cry and still finish this conversation. The tears don't mean I've lost. They mean I still care. And I'm not going to apologize for caring. Not anymore. If this resonated, I've put together a free guide called the Overflow Map. It walks you through how to identify your pre-cry signals, how to communicate your patterns to the people in your life, and how to use the post-cry clarity window to reclaim your voice. You can grab it in the description. No email required. Just take it and use it. And if you want to go deeper into why some people feel everything so intensely while others seem untouched, watch the next video on Vantage Sensitivity and the hidden advantage of being hard to settle. It'll make a lot of things make sense.